Welcome to Heroclix's Heroclix solo play series featuring the X-Men vs Sentinel 300-point theme teams. If you're not familiar with the Heroclix solo play rules, I recommend you watch the introductory video that explains the rules in more detail, and the team building and strategy discussion video that also goes over the strategy and team builds you're gonna see in this video. On turn 1, the X-Men roll a 6 and a 2 for their deployment roll, which means they get unrestricted operations. At the beginning of the turn, Scott fails his leadership roll, and Cyclops and Jean Grey both choose to buff their defense with their traits. They all move and get into defensive formations and prepare for an assault. Turn 1 for the Sentinels, they roll a 3 and a 2 for deployment, and they get a +1 bonus thanks to Senator Kelly's leadership. Looking at frontline finesse, they have to take their non-free actions from lowest to highest if they want to maximize their turn. At the beginning of the turn, Bastion hits a leadership roll and creates a Sentinel on click number 1. Senator Kelly and Boulevard Trask also create Friends of Humanity on 11 and 5 respectively. The Sentinels move behind walls for some protection. Bastion perplexes his attack. Justin Seyfert uses his special power to move Bastion as a free action, which also allows Bastion to make a free closer range attack. He chooses Iceman as his target. With his 12 attack to his 18 defense, he rolls double 3s and successfully hits. Iceman, however, rolls a 6 for Impervious. Bastion then uses Running Shot with Psychic Blast targeting Iceman with the same attack value 12 to the defensive value of 18 and rolls a 5. The Sentinel use a Theme Team PC on a Friends of Humanity, and the reroll is actually a hit. So Iceman takes 3 damage as the Psychic Blast gets through his Impervious. On the X-Men's second turn, they roll a 5 and a 4 for deployment, but they do also get +1 thanks to Cyclops' leadership. Cyclops fails his leadership for another turn. Phoenix uses Colossal Retaliation ability. Phoenix is placed within 3 squares of Bastion, a Sentinel, and a Friends of Humanity. With her 3 targets chosen, she rolls a 5 and manages to KO a Friends of Humanity figure. Jean Grey chooses to buff her defense, and Scott chooses to buff his attack. But before I take an action with anyone else, Phoenix decides to attack the Sentinel, but unfortunately for Phoenix, she rolls double 1s and KOs herself with a critical miss. Gambit uses Running Shot, targeting the Sentinel. Using Penetrating Blast, Gambit's roll is high enough to hit. However, the Sentinel decides to use a Theme Team probability control, bringing him down to 3. The reroll misses. Cyclops then decides to use one for the X-Men. The reroll hits and manages to KO the Sentinel. Cyclops then uses Running Shot targeting the other Sentinel and hits. That Sentinel decides to use a Theme Team probability control, which brings him down to 2, and the reroll still hits, which manages to KO the Sentinel anyway. Iceman moves to tie up Bastion, and Jean Grey clears her action tokens for the turn. On the Sentinel's second turn, her deployment roll ends up being a 2 and a 1. But because of Senator Kelly's leadership, it goes up +1 and they get conservative tactics. Bastion, Creed, and Kelly all fail their leadership rolls, but Trask rolls a 5 and creates a Friends of Humanity. With both Sentinels down and Iceman approaching so closely, I decide to take a defensive maneuver with the Sentinel team and get them into cover to see if maybe they could create some more Sentinels before it's too late. Bastion then uses Perplex on his defense, increasing it by +1. Then Justin Seyfert and Bastion clear their action tokens since they weren't able to take a non-free action this turn. On the X-Men's third turn, their deployment roll is a 4 and a 3, but they get +1 because of Cyclops, which turns out to be frontline firepower. Cyclops rolls a 4 for leadership. Iceman sidesteps to clear the line of fire to Bastion, but stays adjacent to him to keep him tied up. Jean Grey moves to get adjacent to Cyclops, that way the following turn they'll both be able to get a bonus. Gambit, Iceman, and Cyclops all clear their action tokens. Turn 3 for the Sentinels sees them rolling a 6 and a 1 for their deployment roll, so they get unrestricted operations. For the leadership rolls, none of them manage to hit a leadership roll. So I make the decision to keep Bastion acting as a tank and stay there to attack Iceman. Unfortunately, his attack misses, and I still perplex his defense to hopefully keep him alive for another turn to allow the Sentinel engine to get going. On to the X-Men's fourth turn, they roll a 4 and a 2 for the deployment roll, but again they get +1 because of Cyclops' leadership. And he also gets his leadership roll, which allows him to remove a token from Jean Grey. And he activates Commanding Leader to position Gambit for an enhancement boost. Cyclops' +1 attack and Jean Grey chooses +1 defense for their traits. Since they have frontline firepower, Iceman has to make his attack first, uses a close attack against Bastion. With Blades and Exploit weakness, Iceman is looking to do some real damage here. But he still needs to roll a 9 as his attack is 10 and Bastion's defense is 19, which he does. Bastion then uses a Theme Team probability control, which brings the Sentinels down to 1. However, the reroll is still high enough to hit, and he rolls a 4 for Blades, doing 4 damage to Bastion. Cyclops then uses Running Shot at half his speed because he's coming out of hindering terrain. With an enhancement boost from Gambit, he rolls double 2s, which is a miss. However, a Theme Team PC by Gambit allows him to reroll and hit, which manages to KO Bastion thanks to Gambit's enhancement. Jean Grey moves adjacent to Cyclops so they can get a buff the following turn as well. Turn 4 for the Sentinels sees them rolling a 4 and a 2, but they get +1, so they end up with frontline firepower. Again, they all miss their leadership's roll for another turn. They continue to get into position to brace for an attack from the X-Men. On the X-Men's 5th turn, they roll a 4 and a 3 for the deployment roll. With the +1, they end up with frontline firepower again. Cyclops gets his leadership roll again and removes a token from Gambit. Iceman sidesteps to get closer to the Sentinels. Cyclops chooses to get his attack up by +1 and Jean Grey chooses her defense. Cyclops uses Running Shot on Senator Kelly. He rolls high enough to hit, and the Sentinels use their last Theme Team probability control, which then causes Cyclops to miss, so Jean Grey decides to use a Theme Team probability control to help Cyclops out, and she takes 1 pushing damage. The reroll is a hit and it KOs Senator Kelly, which brings him back thanks to his trait, now helping the X-Men. Gambit moves into position to make an attack. Senator Kelly makes an attack against the Friends of Humanity but misses, and Iceman clears his action tokens. Turn 5 for the Sentinels sees them rolling a 4 and a 1, which means they have to consult Frontline Finesse. Creed poisons Kelly and gives him a disease token. Boulevard Trask rolls a 6 for leadership, which creates a Friends of Humanity, and Creed rolls a 5 for leadership, which, thanks to him being adjacent to 3 Friends of Humanity, allows him to make a Sentinel. Creed attacks Kelly and hits. The Sentinel then makes a range attack on Cyclops but misses. Boulevard Trask then uses Sidestep to try to attack Cyclops but also misses. Friends of Humanity then carries Boulevard Trask into safety, while Justin Seifert outwits Gambit's Running Shot. Some poor positioning on my part right there. Turn 6 for the X-Men, they get another unrestricted operations. Cyclops hits leadership again, which allows him to position Iceman. Then Iceman uses a close attack on Boulevard Trask and hits, and he also rolls a 4 for Blades, which manages to KO Boulevard Trask. Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Gambit all clear their action tokens. Turn 6 for the Sentinels has them rolling double 4s, which lets them rally, and they also get frontline finesse. Creed, the Friends of Humanity, and the Sentinel clear their action tokens thanks to rally. Creed rolls a 5 and creates another Sentinel. Friends of Humanity try to attack Iceman. It's not enough. The Sentinel uses Sidestep to carry a Friends of Humanity, then uses Close Combat Expert to buff his attack, and rolls an 11. However, thanks to the Hunted and On the Run trait that Gambit has, that allows friendly characters that have the X-Men keyword to use probability control when attacked by characters with the giant symbol or colossal symbol, the reroll unfortunately doesn't pay off and the Sentinel still hits. So Jean Grey decides to help out and use another Theme Team probability control, which brings the X-Men down to 1. The reroll still hits, so Cyclops then uses the last one the X-Men have available, and finally the reroll misses. The second Sentinel then attacks Iceman as well, but manages to miss it by 1. Creed attacks Iceman, misses. Justin Seifert then outwits Exploit weakness from Iceman. This turn here was the opportunity the Sentinels needed to try and turn things around. On the X-Men's turn 7, they get another unrestricted operations. Cyclops fails his leadership role. Iceman attacks with Close Combat Expert Sentinel, rolling a 9, and he also rolls a 6 for Blades, which KOs the Sentinel. Gambit uses Running Shot targeting a Friends of Humanity and a Sentinel, and he manages to hit, which he chooses to do 2 damage to the Sentinel as his penetrating damage, and 1 damage to the Friends of Humanity, which also KOs the Friend of Humanity. Cyclops uses Running Shot targeting Creed, and he manages to roll high enough to hit, and makes Creed take 4 damage, thanks to Gambit's enhancement, which KOs Creed. The Sentinels are now in danger of being routed. Jean Grey clears her action tokens. On the Sentinel 7th turn, they roll unrestricted operations. A Friends of Humanity attack Gambit but misses, and the other one moves to tie Gambit and Iceman up. On the X-Men's 8th turn, they roll another unrestricted operations. Cyclops misses his leadership roll again. Gambit makes a close attack on their friend of humanity and knocks one out. Jean Grey moves adjacent to Cyclops, that way they can get a bonus if needed next turn. And Iceman and Cyclops clear their action tokens. And on the Sentinel's 8th turn, the game ends as their deployment roll ends up being a rout. This is Heroclix's post-battle analysis. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that these teams were not optimally made. Not only did I want to test out and brush up on some of the Colossal rules, but I also wanted to try out some of the new figures for my recent X-Men the Animated Series unboxing. I'll make suggestions on how I can improve the team afterwards, that way we can make them more optimal. Let's start with the Sentinels. A couple of bad turns for the Sentinels hurt them, and leaving Bastion stranded taking on all of the X-Men was just brutal. I needed to make that tough decision though because I felt the Sentinel creation engine could be more consistent if given time. And I figured Bastion could tank a couple of hits with his 19 defense. However, Iceman's blades and Cyclops' penetrating blast, aided with Gambit's enhancements, it dealt with Bastion pretty handily. With 19 defense and impervious, I figured he had a turn or two until he was dealt with. Once he went down, I saw the writing on the wall for the Sentinels unless they strung a couple of good turns together. But as you saw, the one turn they could have recovered, they missed all their attacks against Iceman or they got Theme Team PC'd. Here are the changes I would make based on this playthrough. The first change I'd make is switching to the 100-point Colossal Bastion, the number 13. This change saves the team 25 points to use elsewhere. Plus, this Bastion can still make Sentinels off a successful leadership roll the same as his non-Colossal counterpart. The Colossal loses Perplex and Outwit, but he is more offensive oriented with 2 targets, gaining Energy Explosion and Pulse Wave. His mind control will also help a lot with the lack of move and attack powers that the Sentinels have, which as you saw was a problem in the match. From there, I'd go one of 2 ways when finishing the team. The first is to use 6 Friends of Humanity to start with and 4 Senator Kellys. This will give you the ability to make Sentinels right out of the gates and gives you wiggle room to squeeze in 2 Sentinels at their starting 25-point levels. The other variant is to throw in Boulevard Trask in exchange for 1 Senator Kelly and Friend of Humanity, in case you'd like to have free support for Bastion at the ready. On to the X-Men. The X-Men didn't really have a theme going for them, as the team was just an amalgam of figures that I wanted to use. Phoenix had a bit of bad luck rolling that critical miss, so I wasn't able to form a solid reaction towards her. The rest of the team played exactly as I thought they would, but one thing I hadn't considered was the amount of map space Iceman took up. There was a turn where he could have gone on the offensive and taken down a couple of Sentinels by himself, but his 10 attack made me shy away from that attack, as a missed attack would have ended up him blocking the lines of fire to the Sentinels, so instead I chose to go with Gambit and a Cyclops attacking first. Playing Iceman at this point level means I have to build the team around him, which would just end up being a completely different team anyway. So with that in mind, this is a 300-point team I'd use to take on the Sentinel army. I don't really know if this seems unfair to the Sentinels, as all of these figures are from the Fast Forces set and have the Hunted and On the Run trait that gives them different abilities when attacked by Giants and Colossals. But it may be a fair fight considering how many Sentinels you can possibly make with the Sentinel team. I'd recommend try them out for yourself and let me know how it goes in the comments below. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this solo Heroclix gameplay X-Men vs Sentinel themed teams. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get notified when the next video goes live. And as always, thank you so much for watching.